I'll come to you, and the point that you make, is it not a given that when a judge is going to give a decision on defamation or in any other case, they will set out what the principles are, what the law is. Normally, they will discuss the law and then apply it to, the testimony, the evidence, so to speak. So what is, as you put it, what is extraordinary about all those lengthy pages of, explanations as to what law must apply, what constitutes defamation, what is not defamation, what is extraordinary about that, and why should that, take our attention in examining this?
Samson, it's just to let you know that the decision was not in a vacuum. Plain and simple. It wasn't in a vacuum. It was based on the law, and that the law has a defined basis for what constitutes defamation. Defamation. And so, therefore, the decision was not in a vacuum.
Okay.
Secondly, when it comes to judgment, you and I know that it is not always that judges get it right. And so, therefore, sometimes even references to the law might be wrong. And so, if the law is set out right, we must commend a judge for doing that, because then we know that he was going, on the basis of established principles. He was not committing an error of law, right? And so for me, I think that in that regard, he has to be commended.
Okay.
Now, what people don't, I appreciate the point that Mr. Suleimana just made. I think that I've also seen comments to the effect that, comments on social media to the effect that Anas went to a civil court and came out as a felon. And I also get that. It is because, some of our colleagues, as they rightly admitted, they are not lawyers. And so some of these things they would not understand. It is possible to make claims that have criminal connotations, right, in a civil matter. And when that is done, and when you look at the judgment, the judge analyzed that and said, page 10 of the judgment specifically, he analyzed that and said that when that is done, then the burden is one which is required in criminal matters. That is beyond reasonable doubt. The judge alluded to all those, or looked at all those in his decision.
Great. Right. So if you can hold on there, where it says he's a tax evader, does the judge show you where this is proving in the trial that Anas evades tax?
Samson, you have to go to the position of the law on what constitutes defamation to have a good appreciation of this.
No, I want us to look at this.
Wait, Samson.
No, Samson. Wait. Just a second. Let's go for the jugular, just a bit. I'm saying that you say criminal matters come in, and that's correct. You're right. We all know, we are taught that there can be pleadings about criminal, claims in a defamation suit, but in a civil suit. But whereas if it was a pure civil suit, the proof, the burden is that of preponderance of probabilities. When crime comes in, the proof is, the standard is one of proof beyond reasonable doubts. So like you mentioned from Sule, I think what Sule would need from someone like you is to understand when the judge holds that he's a tax evader, as has been said by the person he has brought to court, when he talks about he's an email hacker. For example, do you find the proof? When he says he's a murderer, do you find the proof for it? Or there shouldn't be? When he says he's a fraudster. Mm-hmm.
It's very important that in dealing with these matters, we look at what the judge said in terms of what constitutes defamation. Samson, it is not enough to say that the word is capable of defamatory meaning. But as to whether or not it actually defamed him is another thing altogether. The judge may not have considered all the things which Anas alleged that Kenneth Japon stated, for which reason he deemed to be defamation. He may not have considered everything. However, the judge looked at the whole statement in its totality and reasoned that on the basis of some admissions, I've come to the following conclusions. Now, if we isolate what the judge did not say or what the judge said, we miss the point. We need to look at whether on the basis of what transpired, all other things, right, would mean that Kenneth Japon has defamed Anas or not. Now, the reason why he went to court, right, all the words the judge used, words the judge used, for which some people find, or for which some of us may find unpalatable, they were not conjured by the judge. Anas himself had gone to court to say that these are statements that have been made against me by Kenneth Japon, which I find defamatory. Right? Now, Kenneth Japon comes to court and say, yes, I stated all these things.
They are true, they are justified, they are fair.
They are true, they are justified. Right? Now, the next question then will be, there will be no need for the judge to determine whether or not those statements were made against Anas.
Yeah, because he has already admitted.
They've already been admitted. And the judge said it, that once something is admitted, there's no need to prove same.
So you are saying that there's no need to establish, when he says my defense is truth, justification, which is saying is truth, there's no need to establish that when I say you are a murderer, you are in fact a murderer. When I say you are a tax evader, you are in fact a tax evader. When I say you are email hacker, you are in fact an email hacker. There's no need to prove it.
No, Samson. There may be the need to prove it. However, the judge will first have to determine whether or not it is capable of defamation. And that is where the judge said that in the case of the late MP, J.B. Dankwa Edu.
That's right.
Right? There was somebody standing trial for the murder. So the fundamental question is whether or not, in the wake of all that, whether the right-thinking member of society will think that Anas actually killed J.B. Dankwa Edu. So the judge analyzed all those things. That somebody has been arrested, somebody is standing trial for the murder of J.B. Dankwa Edu, right? And then Kenneth Japon has said he killed J.B. Dankwa Edu. In court, Kenneth Japon said no, because he had said, I killed Ahmed Swale. I also said he killed J.B. Dankwa Edu. So in court, Kenneth Japon did not say that the statement that Anas killed J.B. Dankwa Edu was true. He only said that, yes, I also said that because he had made a similar allegation of murder against me. At that point, Kenneth Japon didn't have to prove the truth of that statement. The question is whether or not, in the circumstance of it, right, will the ordinary, the right-thinking member of society come to the conclusion that indeed Kenneth Japon meant, or actually meant, that J.B. Dankwa Edu was killed by Anas. For which reason it will lower his...
Question. After the judge speaks, the judgment speaks about that, you know, a criminal, murderer, evil person, thief, a cheat, fraudster, extortionist, blackmailer, corrupt, land grabber, tax evader, bribe taker, giver, interferer in administration of justice, terrorizes people, email hacker, among others. Then it says, the failure of the defendants, that is the MP, to plead and provide evidence on those matters only meant that the words were admitted by him sub silentio, as in he's silent about it. He doesn't need to actually say that, you know,
that's right,
one thing or the other. But I have admitted them by not saying anything. Then he says, he has admitted them this way as having been uttered by him, that they were uttered in reference to Anas, and that they were published. Then he says the point that you make about what the judge said about it. The judgment says, as already mentioned above, it is the burden of the judge as a trier of fact to determine whether the words actually defame the plaintiff using the hypothetical reader test. And then he comes to say, I have concluded aforehand, based on exhibit so and so, that the plaintiff, Anas, engaged in the crime of bribe taking and bribe giving. A person who commits a crime is a criminal, simpliciter. However, since every word uttered in a different occasion, on a different occasion, ought to be assessed for their defamatory effect, I'll assess all alleged words to determine if they succeed in actually defaming the plaintiff. Then here is the point you are making. He says, on the allegation that plaintiff murdered former member of parliament, Joseph Boachi Dankwa Edu, is consorting with his wife and was responsible for the killing of some Chinese. Defendant explained under cross-examination that he said so because plaintiff had alleged that he killed his colleague, Ahmed Swale. The hypothetical reader would have read about the notorious case involving the murder of the former member of parliament, Mr. Boachi Dankwa, and would be aware of the trial of the suspects, which excludes Anas, the plaintiff. The allegation made by the defendant could not therefore succeed in actually defaming the plaintiff. This is what you say, that should end it.
In my humble opinion, you see, the judge did not make the statement in a vacuum. Samson, he based it on the evidence, exhibit KA01, KA02, KA03, and KA04.
Stay with the issue of murder. Is there an exhibit about murder?
Samson, if you limit, you need to.
No, I want us to isolate them because this is an important part of it. You have referred to exhibit. When it comes to the murder, do you see an exhibit about murder? I mean, let's just deal with this first,
Samson,
and then.
Did the judge make a finding of Kenneth Japon having justified the murder based on the exhibit? He didn't.
Okay.
He said that. Samson, he didn't. He said that when you look at the allegation of murder, one Kenneth Japon had said that he had said so in rebuttal to a certain allegation. That's the first point. The second point the judge made was that the trial of J.B. Dankwa's murder, the accused person, right, for J.B. Dankwa's murder was ongoing.
That's right.
And so, therefore, the reasonable man or the right-thinking member of society who knows that there is police, the police has investigated the matter. 3, the police has somebody who has been charged for the murder.
Right.
4, that person is standing trial for the murder.
Correct.
5, whether or not in that circumstance, right, the right-thinking member of society is likely to say that what Kenneth Japon is saying is true or not. At that point, the judge concludes that on the basis of these facts, right, the right-thinking member of society is likely to come to a different conclusion.
Okay, so the question now is the question now is this: what do you say to members of the public? And this has become an important part, as you have seen being discussed in the public. As a lawyer, bring your experience to bear to help them appreciate. What members of the public are saying is that this is illogical. They are saying that if the man says what I said was true and is justified, and you have found that, in fact, there is somebody standing trial, and that person standing trial is not Anas, then it means it is not true what he said about him. If it is not true, what should happen? What will you say to those who are saying differently?
So what I'll say to those who are looking at it from a different perspective is that, yes, words may be capable, words may have may be capable of defamatory meaning. Not every word which is capable of defamation actually defames, and it is so because the circumstances, right, that surround it may cause a right-thinking member of society to think otherwise, even though somebody may have stated so, right? And so the fact that Kenneth Japan may have called Anas murderer doesn't necessarily mean that everybody will believe it. And as the judge explained, because of the circumstances, the right-thinking member of society may not believe it.
The right-thinking member of society will say that that allegation is not true.
Yes, because the right-thinking member
if it is not true, if it is not true, then it's not justified. It's not fair. You know,
then it means it is. Then it means it is not defamatory,
okay,
because it does not actually defames. And that's why I said to you, look, when you look at all the literature on defamation, Samson, when they are looking at the right-thinking member of society, they are not just looking at you or I. Right. Or Mr. Suleiman.
Okay.
They are looking at people who are capable of
so Nana, thank you for that. Thank you for that. I'm bringing this in. Wait, just a second.